It says I'm live. I feel alive today, I'll tell you right now. Take a big drink of whatever you're drinking this morning. Got a lot to talk about. I've got something. I don't think anybody else, well, maybe some other people, but I got my own perspective on things I'd like to share with you today. A good strong cup of coffee to get you going in the morning. Everybody needs some of that. So as you're jumping on, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. Hope you're having a great day today. I hope everything goes your way today because it is going the president's way. I don't care what you say. And I know there's no evidence. We've lost every court case. I've heard it. Except, have you turned on the TV? Did you watch anything other than MSNBC and CNN or Oprah or whatever it is you watch? Because some stuff happened yesterday. They had some hearings. They had some compelling witnesses. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So I got a perspective I want to share with you, something that kind of came into my mind. But I just got to cover some of this stuff that happened yesterday. Maybe you didn't see it. Maybe you did. I know that my detractors didn't see it because they're too busy, laying sideways in the public trough, lapping at the water. So this is some of the testimony that came out at the hearings yesterday. This was talking about those drop boxes that were put out and about around, the ones that were paid for by Mark Zuckerberg, by the way. So just a minute and a half long. Just listen to what this guy has to say.
And you might recall, as it relates to drop boxes, we were promised 24/7 security. We were promised videos to watch the drop boxes. By the way, has anybody seen the videos that these election officials for every drop box that was out there? We were promised that there would be integrity in the flow and chain of custody of these ballots. That means they must have logs of who had keys to the drop boxes. That means legitimately they have to have a 2-person per key system so that there's not one partisan who might pick up those ballots in a heavily Republican area and lose them on the way to the counting center, or vice versa, pick up ballots in a heavily Democrat area and lose them on the way to the counting center. Did they have 2-person, 1 key? Do they have the logs of when these drop boxes were picked up? Will they ever release video of these drop boxes as they promised? So far, we have demanded such information. It has been refused. People refuse for a reason. What is that reason? We have election experts that have been working with us who say that conduct in breaking the chain of custody prevents the certification of the election process as applied under federal law, the Help America Vote Act. And we will have their testimony moving forward in numerous cases that the way that they did this election was not consistent with federal law in every one of these urban areas in every swing state.
Paid for by Mark Zuckerberg. See, there are laws in place that these are crimes. So, maybe somebody should look into this stuff. I don't know, Attorney General Barr, maybe FBI, CIA. Well, CIA can't because they got some problems up at the top right now. People are MIA, but that's another story for another time. I digress. So anyways, so this guy right here, let's see which way I want to go with this. Okay, so this guy right here, there was a couple of truck drivers that testified, and one of them was really long, so I'm not going to do that one. And you can look them up yourself. You can look up all these. It's all out there. I mean, I know CNN's not covering it. I know Fox News is not covering it, but that's okay. It's on YouTube. You can Google it, find out for yourself. Do your own research. Don't believe me. Don't believe this guy that's about to talk right now. This young guy right here. Listen to what he has to say. Maybe.
The run up to and on election day, I was working as a temporary hire at United Mailing Services, UMS, a USPS subcontractor in Wisconsin. I began employment on August 26, 2020 as a route driver and box truck driver. This meant my job was to pick up mail on a predetermined route and deliver it to UMS for sorting and metering. I would then take the sorted mail in my box truck to USPS. In September or October, I began to deliver mail-in ballots from UMS to USPS as part of my evening delivery duties. I knew this because there was special bins marked for ballots only. On one occasion, I forgot to retrieve the ballots for transportation and had to go back for them. After that, I always made sure to check that I had the ballot bins loaded for transport. On November 2nd, 2020, I noticed that there was only one ballot in the bin for delivery to USPS. And on November 3rd, Election Day, there were no ballots in the bin for delivery.
Okay, let me pause this right here. This guy was a contractor working for the United States Postal Service, or the guy that he worked for was contracted to the United States Postal Service. He was moving ballots around, like, the mail-in ballots is part of his job. Okay. On the day of the election, there was something wrong. There weren't no ballots. Something was wrong. Okay. At the United States Postal Service. Continue listening, then I'm going to add to that.
One can imagine my surprise then when the next day, November 4th, I was asked by a senior USPS employee named Monte if I had forgotten any ballots the night before. Monte explained that an order came down from the Wisconsin-Illinois chapter of USPS that 100,000 ballots were missing.
100,000.
Monte then told me that his post office had dispatched employees to look for the missing ballots around 4 a.m., and that only 7 or 8 were found at UMS. Based on my previous experience and habit of double-checking for ballots, I believe that to be a lie. The following day, November 5th, 2020, I had a conversation with a different USPS employee named Rachel, in which she admitted that USPS employees were ordered to backdate ballots that were received too late to be lawfully counted.
Project Veritas.
I asked Rachel if I would get in trouble with my boss for those ballots the other night, referring to the allegedly missing ballots I discussed with USPS employee Monte on November 4th, 2020. No, you wouldn't, she responded, as long as they were postmarked for the 3rd. She continued, that's why they had us do that. I didn't bring any of this to the attention of my supervisors at USPS at the time due to what I perceived to be their hostility towards President Donald Trump and their evident contempt for the law. I heard those same 2 post office employees making jokes about taking mail-in ballots for Trump and throwing them away.
Throwing them away?
I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Biden supporter either. In fact, I didn't vote for either of the main candidates. But something profoundly wrong occurred in Wisconsin during the presidential election, and the American people have a right to know about it.
So what he's saying is the United States Postal Service is complicit with election fraud. That's basically what he just said there. That they were taking ballots and throwing them away. They were taking ballots and backdating them. They were changing the status of ballots. They were misplacing 100,000 ballots. It brings me back a few weeks ago. I actually did a video on this. You scroll back, you can find it before the election, that here in Pettis County, it came attention of the authorities that the absentee ballots, about 1,200 of them that were mailed out, never made it to their destination and were lost. When the authorities in Pettis County contacted the United States Postal Service, they told them to just wait. We'll find them. But because we have good people working in Pettis County, they said, we can't just wait. We got to get these ballots out so they can get back in time. Understand, this is a heavily strong, like 90% Republican area where I live. And 1,200 ballots went missing. And they were like, don't worry about it. We'll find them. Well, the guys that are in authority in our district, our county, they said, no, we can't do that. If you don't find them in the next, like by the morning, we're just going to print new ones up and we're going to ship new ones out to the people that need them. And they damn sure better get there. And sure enough, that's what they did. But after a few days, 4 or 5 days went by, they found these ballots in St. Louis, Missouri. lo and behold, is the United States Postal Service actively working against the American people and messing with the election? Inquiring minds want to know. I don't know. But boy, seems kind of shady to me. Then there's this gal and her testimony about the actual night of the counting, which I find pretty compelling. I'm going to play you a couple sound bites of her, so just listen up.
What I witnessed at the TCF Center was complete fraud. The whole 27 hours I was there, there was batches of ballots being ran through the tabulating machines numerous times, being counted 8 to 10 times. I watched this with my own eyes. I was there to assist with IT. These people on night shift, I had 4 people on night shift that I've known. One of them I've known for over 20 years. He approached me and said he had absolutely zero training whatsoever, contradicting 100% what Daniel Baxter claims, that they had so much training. He said they had zero. I watched, these people had no idea what they were doing. Okay. Also, the adjudication process, I witnessed numerous people walking up, claiming they were both Democrats, saying they were sitting together, judging ballots all night together, all day together. I witnessed it all. I was on the main stage with all of the city officials. Daniel Baxter was in on the whole thing, and I am under the impression 100% that at least 90% of those workers were all in on this. There was not a single ballot the whole night, the whole 27 hours I was there, that I saw that was for Donald Trump. Not one, not a single ballot. That is scary. There is no reason for that. Also, I'm gonna say that there was something going on at that Department of Elections. And
all right. So what she's saying there is that the Dominion people were here, a whole bunch of Democrat people were here at this counting facility. This is, I believe, was in Pennsylvania. I don't know. There's so many. Lansing, Michigan. This is in Michigan. I apologize. So this was in Michigan. So Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, all these having these problems. And she's saying not a single Republican ballot came in. Now, the guy who used to own Overstock.com, I was watching him. He's a mathematician, genius kind of guy, and he put together some statistics, and he said that in a 95% Democratic district, 95%, I mean, 95% of the vote in that district will go to the Democrat. To have not one vote come in 100 ballots for the opposing candidate is statistically impossible. He said it was like 50 million to 1 or something. He said in 1,000 votes, not one come in for the opposing candidate. It's like 4 or 5 quadrillion to 1 odds of that happen statistically. So what she's saying is, shouldn't like 1 or 2 Trump ballots came in and been counted in this sorting room? See, something smells fishy. So let's continue. I fast forward. She was supposed to have 3 minutes, but they kept asking her questions. She had up like 14 or 15 minutes because what she had to say was nuts. And I this was on Rumble. I said, I know Dan Bongino shared it. Just go watch it. Go watch the whole 14 minutes for yourself, but just check out this part right here.
When a ballot jams, it puts up an error. It'll say discard or recount. So
she's talking about the voting machines. Now, here where I vote, we go and we fill out the ballots. We circle the little circles. You know, you've done it too. And then we walk over to the machine and we set it in the machine, and the machine goes, zoop, sucks it inside. I guess it reads the circles and counts it, and it drops down into a box that's part of the machine that you can't get to it. It's sealed. You understand what I'm saying? That's the way I understand how this works. So that's what she's talking about.
When it puts up that error, when a jam occurs, the correct way to go about it is to discard the whole batch, take the ones that have already been tabulated, put them back into a pile, put the one that jammed on top, and then discard the whole thing, and then rescan them. They were not discarding. So they were just rescanning, counting ballots 8 to 10 times, just recounting them. They had absolutely no idea what they were doing.
Or did
So
they?
You're saying that they were literally opening up the box, taking the ballots back out of the box, and then sending them through again?
No, they
Okay.
were just taking,
I
so
wanna be
when a
clear on
ballot,
this.
okay, so when a ballot was, when the error came up on the PC in front of them, and it said that a jam occurred, I would go try, because it happened so many times in the 27-hour period. Each machine, it did it between 2 and 3 times an hour. So, because these were folded ballots, they're mail-in ballots. So when it occurred, that, and then it threw up the error, discard, rescan. As I just stated, you are supposed to take the problem ballot that got jammed, put it on top of the whole pile, discard it, because that's why the option is there. If you do not discard it, it is recounting it. So they would take the ones that were, say ballot number 25 had an issue. You had already went through 24 ballots. So you're going to put them back all in a pile, and you're just going to rescan it. So it's counting those 24 again, instead of discarding those 24 and restarting.
Oh, but that's what I was trying to ask. I mean, so they're literally taking,
Did I answer correctly?
You're saying that they're taking ballots that already went through the machine, taking them and scanning them a second time.
That's absolutely what I said, yes.
So help me understand, because I haven't worked in AV counting
Okay.
center. I've been to my precinct, and when our ballots go into the tabulator, there's no access to them.
Listen
after
to
they're
this.
accepted. I mean, they go into a sealed box.
Oh,
There's
no,
access
these
to
ones,
them.
no, I've heard that too from other states, that they do drop directly into
Right.
a steel box. No, the steel boxes were behind them, which I could say a lot about that too, but I won't. But they were using those for barriers for the poll watchers, so they couldn't get close, the steel boxes. But no,
What?
they were 100% in the counter's hands. This whole process, they were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do. Nick and Samuel that worked for Dominion, they were on the stage. They had a contract employee, me, and another one that was from Texas.
All right. So I what she just said there was that the machines, as I described it when I voted in my neck of the woods, it drops into a locked box. The ballots did not go into a locked box. The ballots just, they could reach in and grab the ballots and scan them again, or reach in and grab the ballots and scan them again. And that's what they were doing. There's a whole lot more there in that conversation with her, but for time's sake, go look for it yourself. It's out there. Watch that video. Blonde gal. She's feisty, to say the least. Okay, so one more. This is just a minute and a half long, and this is on Lou Dobbs and his Jason Sullivan and that Amstead project guy. I believe that's who that is. Anyways, he sums up kind of what happened with the United States Postal Service, and like I said, there's 2 or 3 guys that used to work for the Postal Service in a contracting way. But just listen to this.
On all of those ballots before the election, how important is that testimony?
Well, it's hugely significant because there's absolutely no reason for ballots to be counted in Pennsylvania to be shipped from New York. So what he experienced is, and we believe through our evidence, that they loaded the wrong truck. They intended to load a different truck. But he's up there in New York at a postal facility that doesn't even process mail. In other words, they don't have the equipment, they don't have any intake. There's no reason for these bulk ballots as bulk mail in these bulk carriers put into these boxes to even be at this facility. And they load them up in his truck and they tell him to go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He drives down there, and typically the Postal Service is very efficient. They unload, they move you to the next stop. He waits in that parking lot for 6 hours without orders. And then they order him to Lancaster without unloading. What we believe happened is those ballots weren't supposed to be there. And they couldn't open that truck to let other people see what is inside the truck, which were completed ballots ready to be counted. And then another whistleblower later on the election night.
The guy that he was talking about right there, that was in October. Why do they have truckloads of completed ballots in October from New York going to Pennsylvania?
Right on actually November 4th in the morning, sees the same type of bins of ballots coming in a late night ballot dump to be voted and counted in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. So yes, this is deeply concerning. We've been investigating this now for several weeks. We've corroborated the story. We have corroborated it with witness at the postal facility that ballots were being shipped, completed to Pennsylvania at several different times. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of ballots.
Hundreds of thousands of completed ballots shipped before and after the election. You got to ask yourself, what kind of bull nonsense? I used to have a sergeant in the Army. All your bull nonsense. What kind of bull nonsense is going on around here? Because that ain't right. I mean, just straight up, something ain't right. So now I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about Georgia. And so Lynn Wood, he's the attorney for the Covington kid that is getting a bunch of settlements. That kid's going to be independently wealthy. He's a liable attorney. He's a very good attorney. He's one of the ones on the case down in Georgia, and he's uncovering a bunch of stuff. And he's been hammering the Republican governor of Georgia. And this got my mind to thinking last night. So, because I'm a political junkie, I've been paying attention to what's going on for years. So let me build this for you, and then I'll tell you where my mind's going, okay? So he starts tweeting, and this is in the last 48 hours. It says, information being received now that Communist China's purchased Dominion voting in October 8th for $400 million. Efforts underway to verify. If true, this confirms other evidence that the communists intend to overthrow our government and get our precious land. Not on our watch. Okay. So what is he talking about? Well, he tweets this out. And this says, stay tuned for details. I will be speaking in Georgia. And with the little fine print down, we pull up a little closer, saying what it's saying is UBS Securities is a Swiss investment bank which owns 24.99% of UBS Securities Company Ltd, a Chinese investment bank, the remaining 75%. They own the remaining 75% of UBS. And UBS is the parent company of Dominion. So 75% of Dominion is owned by the Red Chinese, is what he's saying. I Googled that. Just Google UBS Securities ownership Dominion. Just Google that, and it comes up in several articles. The FTC is talking about this. That, see, when you companies buy and merge and trade that are publicly traded stocks, that has to be mentioned to the FTC. You have to file paperwork, and there's a paperwork trail. So anyways, consider number of individuals, entities who work with third-party foreign actors to attempt theft of our election. All mainstream media, Biden, Clinton, Obama, Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Brian Kemp, Georgia, and Georgia Secretary of State. 80% of Democrats and 60% of the Republicans. I disagree with him there. I don't know a Democrat one that's come out and spoke like a patriot. And I think that number, what do you say, 60% of Republicans is too low. I think it's a lot more than that. Are corrupt as hell. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. So public or private citizen, I'm telling you, he was hammering them down there in Georgia. Any public or private citizen of Georgia who took Chinese money, George Soros money, Bill Gates money to manipulate our election in any manner is a traitor And there's a no Mo Kemp down there. You see that? He's all over Kemp down there, the governor of Georgia. When an election can be manipulated by foreign countries working with American traitors, or our freedom is facing extinction. If you care about freedom, take action. Time for nonviolent civil disobedience. In other words, he's calling people of Georgia, people of America, to get to the streets. That's what he's saying. It's time to protest. Bulletin to Georgia Republican Party officials. Stop asking for money to pad your bank accounts. We need money to win this election. We're going to win the Senate back. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump does not win. Donald Trump does not defeat this corrupt Dominion, Chinese, whatever's going on here. They won't win those recall elections in Georgia because they'll just fix them. And this country's over. You have no principles. The runoff elections will be as corrupt as the general, since Brian Kemp, at Brian Kemp, Georgia, only hides in the closet. You fooled Georgia patriots once. That is all. Soon to be inmate at Bryant Kemp, Georgia, destroying your integrity of your vote. If your vote has no integrity, you lose the right to decide who runs your city, your state, nation. You lose your freedom. You end up like oppressed citizens in communist China. And man, the guy, and I'm just showing you this, that Linwood has been hammering this guy. Georgia Patriot, did you know, thanks to at Brian Kemp, at Geoff Duncan, at Secretary of State, and Gabriel Sterling, your vote was manipulated by Venezuela, China, Germany, Siberia, Canada, Germany, Siberia, China, et al. I bet China paid big money to steal your vote. Ask these Georgia political hacks. How much? Millions? Question mark. Do you know that the governor of Georgia had a bunch of debt paid off shortly after he got elected? Wonder how that happened. See, the governor of Michigan purchased Dominion Systems for her state for $25 million. The governor of Georgia purchased it for a little over $100 million. Why so much difference in price? Because it's a money laundering operation. What, they get 10% back? So if you give 100, you get 10. If you give 25, you get 2.5. Or is it 20%? Or is it 5%? You know that's how our government works, right? That we give money out to all these various things, and then the politicians get kickbacks. I'm just saying. All right. Truth needs to shine on Georgia State Capitol. It's a den of corruption. Truth needs to shine on at Brian Kemp. He is a corrupt coward. Truth needs to shine on Georgia Secretary of State. He's like soon-to-be inmate Kemp. Truth needs to shine on Georgia. Don't mess with integrity of our votes. And one more. Time to find out which side Brian Kemp, Duncan, Secretary of State stand. Freedom or tyranny. It's just all about their personal and family bank accounts. Speak up, Georgia Patriots. It says, do something, Brian Kemp, at Brian Kemp, Georgia. You allowed your state to be scammed. We must check signatures and court-signed envelopes against ballots. Okay, so there you have it. Now, this is from me. This is my opinion, my theory, my thoughts. I have no source for this, but I have a question for I know you're on there right now. I'm not watching the feed on who's talking, but I know you guys are out there going, you have no evidence. Attorney Barr said there was nothing. Oh, CNN and Fox News, they're not even covering it. They're spending their time covering the coronavirus. Hey, I digress. But I gotta edit something right here. Gotta put something in. In the next 2 or 3 days, there will be a massive spike in coronavirus because they had been counting it over the holidays, so they got to add it all in. Did you hear what I said? Write that down on a piece of paper. Mike the Patriot. What month is this? December 2nd. I'm having a Biden moment. Says there'll be a massive spike in coronavirus across the country next day or two. Mark my words, it's coming. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. Speaking of corruption. So you guys are out there saying that there's nothing going on. You're bashing me. You're calling me an idiot. You're saying I'm not a patriot. Okay, whatever. But I have a question for you. A couple years ago, when Kemp became governor, Stacey Abrams screamed bloody murder that the election was stolen from her. Look here, let me tell you right now, I am not a Republican. I am a conservative. I am a patriot. I am a libertarian. I am a pro-freedom and liberty. I'm pro-Constitution. And I'm going to point out right now that Brian Kemp is as corrupt as they could be, and I believe 100% that he did steal that election from Stacey Abrams. You hear me? You hear me, all you people? Would you agree with me that that election was stolen from Stacey Abrams? Your gal, your Democrat gal, your gal lost that election because Kemp gave more money to Dominion than Stacey Abrams did. Oh, what? Yeah, you heard me. Stacey Abrams knew that fix was in. She knew she was going to win. You can't scam a scammer. Stacey Abrams was trying to cheat that election, but Brian Kemp cheated it more using Dominion. Dominion is a company that was developed by Venezuela and the Red Chinese in order to sell it. Well, they did it at first for themselves to make sure that they win all their elections, but then they thought, hey, this is marketable, and they sold it all around the world. I got a video that I was going to play for you the other day that I never even got to. It's Michelle Malkin interviewing some politicians over in the Philippines, where for the last 10 or 15 years, they've been using Dominion to scam that country away. This is a product that they sell to the highest bidder. They don't care if you're Republican. They don't care if you're communist. They don't care if you're libertarian. They don't care if you got the money to spend. They'll buy you an election. So my detractors out there, would you agree with me that Brian Kemp stole this election from Stacey Abrams? Because that's what happened. That's just my gut feeling. That's just reading the tea leaves, seeing what's happening here. And that's why Brian Kemp doesn't want to, the governor of Georgia does not want this coming out. He doesn't want, he's trying to bury this. He's trying to shred paper. They got hard drive shredders pulling up to where these Dominion machines are, against court orders, by the way, to get rid of the information because he knows he's buried in this. Oh yeah, Stacey Abrams was trying to steal this election too, the traditional way, stuffing ballots and all that stuff in Fulton County. That's why she thought she had it. My friends, this is a scam that's going on across this country. Republican and Democrat alike Stalin said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes. And the Dominion system is a vote counting system, not a vote tabulating system. They just count the vote till they get the vote they want. Think about it. Some questions need to be answered, don't they? And you guys out there that are saying to me, there's nothing here, understand what's going to happen. It's going to be your guy next. Whoever pays the most money is going to be the one that's going to be elected. Elections for hire. Don't you think we should look into this? Really? Yeah, there's nothing here, no evidence. Don't you think we should look into this? Don't you think we should look into Governor Kemp, Republican of Georgia, to see if he stole this election from Stacey Abrams and if he has something to do with manipulating the election this time around? Because once you've made the deal with the devil, the Venezuelan company that's now owned by the Chinese, you're owned by the devil. If you don't play ball, they're liable to throw you under the bus too. Corruption is corruption, and corruption breeds corruption. We need to get to the bottom of this thing. I'm going to jump off you now. But you guys have a great day. I do want to leave you with one more thing. There's breaking news that's happening right now, and I want you to see this breaking news. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It's unbelievable. So exciting, this news that's coming out. But Study finds that most Americans trust Dr. Pepper over Dr. Fauci. I thought I did on a light note. And there's one more thing. Pastor Graham said that the most sublime, well, he didn't say, he quoted, the most sublime picture in American history is George Washington on his knees in the snow at Valley Forge. That image personifies a people who know that it's not enough to depend on our own courage and goodness. We must also seek help from God. President Ronald Reagan. We need some more Ronald Reagans. We need some more Donald J. Trumps. You guys have a great day. Please share this video. Please follow me on all the other socials I'm around. I'm going to make a post on, I keep trying to put it inside in the comments here, but I don't think Facebook's letting it go. So I'm going to make a post on my page of my links to all my other socials, just in case I'm not here. So you might want to check that out, and it'll be up pretty quick. You guys have a great day. Share this video. Glad to have you on. Glad to talk to you today. You guys have a great day.